What's up, everybody?
My name is Anthony Irvin.
You beat yourself?
Yeah.
Yeah, CB myself.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm Jim Green.
Don't even need a hit of traffic light.
Okay, good.
Welcome to
One set.
Woo. Yee.
Wow. When we recorded what, 2 weeks ago? I know
Yeah.
we did a recording last Tuesday, but that's not published, right?
Went right to
That's,
Patreon. Yeah, that went right to Patreon.
That one straight. That is a straight to Patreon publishing, which you
Exclusive.
can find us at Patreon. Exclusive content, patreon.com / the number one set pod. Tier 3 gets those movie watch longs, essentially movie watch longs. So it's anything beyond 60 minutes. So if we want to talk about perhaps one day we'll do the the Battle of Winterfell episode on Game of Thrones. That is like an hour and 20 minutes. That would be a tier 3 watch. You know what I mean? Whereas most of them are
Right.
like, if it's a 55-minute episode of Game of Thrones, they're going to tier 2, right? Because tier 2 is the 20 to 40 or 20 to 59 minute rather. And if you're in tier 3, you get both the tier 2 watch alongs and the tier 3 watch alongs, you know? So we're looking forward.
So you got the Holy Grail, so you'll be good with that.
That you are essentially sitting on the Iron Throne at that point. Right?
Yeah.
So beyond that Patreon episode that we did last Tuesday, we didn't meet last Monday. You had kind of an early start last Tuesday at work. And we had the watch along for last Friday. We did Arthur 1981, which I have just shared even moments of that with my family, and they are just hooting and hollering. The thing with 2-hour watch alongs, it's just hard to find time to sit and watch a movie.
It is.
These days, and I'm the same way. And attention span wise, just the way that society works. The entertainment industry is like, we get it. People don't have 2 hours to drop unless if they're like the Marvel movies where everything is building and culminating to, like, they have a very unique, I would say a very unique system that really no one else has done in that. I mean, yeah, the Star Wars trilogies and all of the spin-off stuff they've done, that doesn't, I don't want to say that doesn't count, but the setup wasn't premeditated in that fashion. You know what I mean? I think that it was just
that
after they did the original trilogy and they made as much money as they did, they went, okay, well, how do we do more? And they have expanded on it over 40 years time now, right? Which good for them. They keep finding ways to be prosperous and successful after the original success, which, like, if you can do that, great, good for you. Hopefully, it doesn't run out. There's going to come a time where, let's fast forward. If I had to guess 50, 60 years, you might have a couple 100-year-olds out there in the world that were alive when the original Star Wars came out. But you're going to get to a point. You're going to get to a point where that was before everyone else's time. So you have to make a way to cement a legacy and keep it moving on. Which I've heard great things about The Mandalorian. Again, I am not a Star Wars person, so I can't speak to details on any of it. I do.
Same.
I do hope one day that I can watch it. Just, I mean, it's kind of the reason I got into football, is more so for like the social engagement. If I'm out and someone says, "You ever seen Star Wars?" and I'm like, "Nope," and they're just like, Okay, next, right?
Right. Okay.
Okay, yeah, and then they just move on to the next person. You hear about Star Wars, and then they have that conversation with them.
And if they don't, they're just walking out of the bar.
So we have some stuff to talk about. Should we start off with? I don't know, man. What do you think? Why don't you kick us off with the March Madness closing?
Well, if people saw the Patreon, and obviously you didn't have to go to Patreon to know who won, but UConn was the big winner of the tournament, and which neither of us in the beginning had UConn going to the Final Four, nor even winning it. So that was a shock for even both of our brackets. And mind you, both of our brackets were busted before the second round started.
Early on, they were bad.
So
I think I had FAU.
And Jim gave me like an extra thing. Yeah. Yeah, you had, after everything, you started actually coming back with a lot of the
underdogs.
other picks. Yeah, because what Jim brought into the value was the traditional thing with what everybody does is they pick everything before the tournament goes, and that's the traditional way to go. However, what we started was we would go first and second round, make those picks, wait until they go, because you have a little bit of time before the next round starts, and then you adjust, make those picks and adjust, make those picks and adjust. It's not like we were kind of like cheating. It's more like because you don't really know who's going to win the games. You just kind of have a better idea of each round who's playing, and if you tend to lose, you adjust for that round, but you're still counting wins and losses in the same aspect. I thought it was fun the way we did it, because I'm so used to doing the traditional way, but I still had fun doing it the way that we made up.
Yeah, I mean, and hey, kudos to those that do the traditional round and you go from the beginning and you have whoever wins in the end, you had them winning early on. Like our method is not knocking that. In fact, kudos to you, because our method is more so like, hey, we don't pay attention as much to college basketball. So I like going 2 rounds at a time and saying, okay, well, how many in the first 2 rounds, and then make your picks on the next 2 rounds after the fact. It's kind of like people make week to week picks. People make picks like during the games now, and I think that's wild. But hey, the whole sports betting scene, I mean, hey, 20 years ago it was entirely illegal, and now it's like,
yeah,
I'll take your money, thanks, right? Seriously.
Just place it right here.
Yeah, just keep getting broke.
Keep getting to negative. So,
Cue the violin, right?
But the tournament this year was really great. Oh yeah, the smallest violin.
Yeah.
But this year's tournament was great. I thought we had, a lot of like close games, and we had a lot of teams that weren't expected to go far. They went, at least 2-3 rounds farther than what they were expected. And so for a whole tournament, it was great this year. And especially for a first timer like Jim seeing like that was definitely something cool for Jim to see.
Yeah, and I mean,
but then since then, yeah,
I pay zero attention to college basketball, so I was literally picking off of random, like, like seeding and also records, but at the same time, what I didn't take into account, because I don't know like who plays in which divisions and stuff. Like, oh, you might be 31-5 in this division, and this team might be 27 27-9 in this division, but this division might be harder. based on who
right.
who the teams are in that division. So because I am naive to all of that, I got lucky on some of my picks, but at the same time, I didn't expect to have like a strong outcome. But I think just flying off the cusp, I did pretty all right for my first time around. Not, and I don't have like the numbers in front of me, like how many times I was like right and wrong.
I've tossed my bracket at this point, and I couldn't even say like I think we'll call it even with both of us. I kind of stopped keeping track of the wins and losses at a certain time. Like I said, once Kansas lost, I was like, all right, throw it out the window. We're done. No.
Because you had them winning the whole thing. I was very surprised
once Kansas lost. Yeah. I had them winning the whole thing. So once they lost, I was like, yep, all right, busted bracket. Here we go.
Yeah,
Mr. Bucket bracket.
Once FAU kept like being the underdog winner, I picked them to win the whole thing. I was just like, watch them just crush everyone. Which they didn't. UConn took the win, which obviously a good team. And congrats to them.
And FAU was this close to getting into the championship game. If it wasn't for that game winner, they would have got in.
Yeah, they didn't lose by a lot. Let's say that they just barely missed out right at the end there. Like I said, fun experience, fun to be involved in that. Do we want to move on to the next thing? We haven't really talked. We haven't really talked about WrestleMania, or we did a little bit on the Patreon, right? I think we did.
Yeah, because the last little bit of it got cut off. But the only thing that really we said, but it got cut off, was just talking about the Bianca Belair and Asuka match, which we had a lot of good things to say about their match. I mean,
absolutely,
we both wanted Asuka to win, but Bianca Belair actually won, which we still weren't mad about. We were still, highly proud of Bianca still being able to retain her belt, because obviously that means they have high hopes for her and want her to continue to go as far as they can with her. But now it's like, okay, so who do you put next in line for her? So
yeah, I mean, I think the most off that we were in our predictions was I was dead on with my Saturday night predictions minus it was the 3-on-3 women's match. I had Damage Control winning because I was like, okay, some heels need to win. They gave the win to Becky, Lita, and Trish, which we actually saw that unfold tonight. We'll talk about that in a second. And then Sunday, I think we both had Gunther retaining. I think
we did. Yeah.
I think did you have Bianca retaining, or did you have Asuka retaining, or winning rather?
I think we were both separate at that. I think you had Bianca, I had Asuka.
I definitely had Asuka.
From what I remember, I think we. Okay, then maybe we both. We both had Asuka. I think there was one that
one we were separate on was you.
So
you had the Usos winning, and I had Sammy and Kevin winning on Saturday night. That's where we were different. That's the one I remember for sure. I know we were like,
okay, then that was the one.
I know we were really contemplating the Cody and Roman thing. After the fact, I am not super surprised. It just seems like they really want to cement him with like the longest title reign in the modern era of wrestling or sports entertainment.
Yeah.
Whatever. Like, I think that's what they're aiming to do, and say, oh, well, Roman Reigns held it for 1,000+ days or whatever, which he's going to crush 1,000 days. I don't see him.
Yes.
I don't see him dropping the belt before WrestleMania 40. Yeah. So without going back into detail, if you want our detailed take on our highlights from WrestleMania, it is on our Patreon page, which I believe tier 1 at $3 a month can get that material.
Yes.
So let's kind of recap the past, because we're recording Monday night, April 10th. So we don't have like a legit follow-up from the Monday after, the SmackDown after, which, to be honest, I did not watch all of either, because Monday Night Raw was, the Monday Night Raw after Mania was, like, a lot of people are saying it's the worst Raw after WrestleMania to ever happen. And watching it just structured, everyone's like, oh, Vince is back in charge. He's backstage. He's in Gorilla, this, that, and the other. It just felt so slapped together and didn't make sense. Whereas the creative in the last 8 months since Vince retired, the show flow has been like, oh, it makes sense why they're moving from this segment into this segment into this segment. Like, it was easy to watch. Whereas last Monday it was just like everything was just all over the place and so scatterbrained and didn't make sense. And
there was barely any wrestling. There was, I think they said out of the 3 hours, there was maybe like 45 to an hour's worth of wrestling out of the 3 hours of the show. There was only about that much. So
1/3 of the show you have in-ring action, and the other 2/3 is just BS, right? Which none of us appreciate. If you have promo segments that are good, and to which Triple H opening Raw and saying, "Are you ready? We're not going anywhere." And WrestleMania was the best one we've ever had.
Yeah.
And it was just like, he was just out there ranting. And I was just like, stop it. Get some help. Right?
Like, he really didn't have anything else to say. It's just more like, okay, just say this stuff. It's good.
Yeah. And then fast forward to fast forward to SmackDown. He opened up SmackDown, right? And I was like, I swear to all that is holy in whoever's faith, or to whatever you believe in, if you don't have faith in a religious thing, if he repeats that segment, I'm going to go back to where I was when I was just checking the results online and not even tuning in on television anymore. And that is literally the biggest step down, until you get to the point where you only pay attention to the major pay-per-views and you watch the promos that lead into them, because they tend to try to make sense of it, even if it's like Sami Zayn and the Bloodline. Like, they spell that out for you, because that was a year or 8 months in the making. That was literally for the fans that don't pay attention week to week. It's like, oh, if you tune into WrestleMania, you can watch this promo package and understand why the match is the match and why it's important. And I'm like, well, if you keep doing that, you're enticing me to not tune in anymore. Other than to watch good, like, in-ring wrestling matches, the promos and the storylines, I understand they're important and they make the audience invested because of the drama, right?
Right.
If you're only giving me an hour out of 3 on a Monday night of in-ring content that is hopefully really good, if it's only an hour, and if it's kind of just like a house show, you're pushing me one foot out the door, man. Like, and that's just the reality of it, you know?
I can't agree more. I mean, with everything that the Bloodline storyline has gone up until WrestleMania, there's definitely been some like cooling off moment that we have right here. Because I think everybody thought that there was going to be this big conclusion to this Sami Zayn story and Cody story, but now it's like, okay, so where do they go from here? Obviously, they're going to continue it. So I feel this whole storyline is going to cool off a little bit, and hopefully it picks back up to a certain point where we're going to start getting some more heat on this thing, because now it's like they're probably thinking, okay, where do we go? How do we, ignite this flame back? Because it was just so good. And, with the Usos losing I think it's still to the point where they have the opportunity to still set in stone the destruction of the bloodline, which I think at the end of the day, that's where they're going with it.
Right.
But I'm just worried that they've lost their stride with this, and they're gonna not know where to go with it, and they're just gonna kind of keep, you know, stoking this thing until they, just burn it out, and then people are just gonna be to the point where it's like, I'm done, because it was
Yeah.
good, and you should have done something at this point. But now it's like, not saying to the point like, oh, you didn't give us what we wanted, because I like the fact that they're continuing it, and because they feel they need to do something more with this. Cool, but what are you gonna do to keep us entertained? If you're just giving us, again, if it like back what we were doing about a year or two ago, same matches Monday and Fridays with the same people. If I start seeing that, then people are going to start checking out again. You can't start getting the same people in the same matches. It looks like they're starting to bring in Riddle with this. I don't know where he's getting connected with this, but it's okay, I guess, that they're bringing in somebody new with it. But again, you can't keep having the same Sammy and Kevin and Cody and Bloodline matches every week. There has to be some type of resolvement with this group, and either moving on from it or having some type of conclusion with it, because you can't do this for the next year.
Well, I mean, so I words. My bad. So I think they did really good, where they actually swerved us super hard with the whole Cody teaming against Roman and Solo last week with a partner of his choice, and Brock coming out, and everyone's like, oh, this could be fun. And then they get to the main event, and
Right.
Brock just destroys Cody. So it removes Cody immediately from the Bloodline story, and already we're invested in, okay, Cody is not connected to the Bloodline. He is going the Lesnar route, right? Which I paid attention to the first half of Cody's promo tonight, and then I was like, he's just talking a lot right now. And I'm like, they're going to drag this out for a little while, because what's Cody going to do after Brock Lesnar? Like, that's what we don't know, because you're not going to pit him against Seth again, because he had his 3 matches against him a year ago that culminated in Hell in a Cell, and it's just kind of like, okay. So them giving us Cody and Brock, it is enticing, especially Brock, since his return to face Roman post-pandemic, has been like our favorite Brock Lesnar ever. Honestly, he's just been he's been having such a fun time. Even though
you can tell,
even though he lost to Roman, he could get on the mic himself and not care. Him on the Pat McAfee show is just so fun to watch, right?
Oh yeah,
that was
you could definitely tell like this is the funnest Brock that we've seen, and not like, I mean, he's always been a serious character, but you can tell this time around that like he's at least enjoying like the little change up of his character, and kind of doing a little bit of difference instead of the same beast character that he's been the last couple of years that we're so familiar with.
Right. So it'll be interesting to see where his heel character goes now, especially him not having Heyman, and him having to be a heel on the mic now independently, where him on the mic as a face in the last year and a half has been really fun, and he's just enjoyed himself, and he hasn't said anything like super crazy or like had any really extended promos. He's really just cut to the chase, and everyone's just like, oh my God, Brock Lesnar, we love him because he's awesome, right?
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see where they go with that, and how Lesnar, being the veteran, helps elevate Cody Rhodes in a way, right? Like, because I think that is the ultimate goal here, right? Because if Cody Rhodes is ever going to finish the story, so to speak, right?
Right.
it may not be until a year and some change from now. Like they're doing Money in the Bank in June because they're doing
Yeah, usually
Backlash.
like June, July-ish.
They're doing Backlash in Puerto Rico May 7th, I think it is. Cinco de Mayo is the 5th. I know that because
Right.
that is
Yeah, so May 7th or May 6th. They're so used to
it's
doing
a
the
Saturday.
Saturdays.
It's a Saturday.
Yeah, so May 6th.
May 6th. You're right. So we get that then. I don't know. I can look it up. The date for Money in the Bank, which I know is in London, I believe.
Correct? I think, yeah. I know one of them was
correct
outsourced.
question mark?
Correct? I am Ron Burgundy?
Yeah, that. Okay. So it's saying July 1st. So I'm like, okay, there's got to be a June pay-per-view in between. PLE.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Like I said, we have Backlash in May, June, July. Then SummerSlam is August 5th. They just announced that tonight.
Okay. So they're doing Backlash in Puerto Rico, May 6th, which we were right about, and they actually don't have a June pay-per-view, or we got to get out of pay-per-view and just start calling it PLE or Premium Live Events. PLE is going forward because that's what they're transitioning to, right?
Right.
So this is kind of wild, honestly. So they just did Mania, right? In LA, right, which is an international hub for tourists and this, that, and the other, right? So they are doing the next PLE Backlash in Puerto Rico, Saturday, May 6th. So they're doing WWE King and Queen of the Ring, okay?
That's right. I heard they were going to do that again.
They're doing that Saturday, May 27th, which is Memorial Day weekend for us.
Okay.
But the event is held in Saudi Arabia, okay? So...
okay, yeah.
So I'm curious to see if they do an entire PLE of tournament just to crown the King and Queen of the Ring so that we don't have to have title defenses.
Yeah.
I'm also curious for the Queen of the Ring to see how many women wrestlers are in Saudi Arabia because they've been like slowly sprinkling that in.
Right.
But they don't get to wear their normal attire over there, which is like kind of...
Yeah, they have to wear T-shirts or long sleeves and really be covered and everything.
Everything's got to be covered. So, I mean, if I were to win the Queen of the Ring, not in America, not in my like standard attire, like I wouldn't want that at all. Like I understand globalizing the company,
right?
And that's the whole thing that they're doing because their next three, like I said, Puerto Rico first, Saudi Arabia second, both in May, one at the beginning and one at the end, and then you skip June. Saturday, July 1st is Money in the Bank, and it's in London. So your next PLE for WWE in the States is Saturday, August 5th in Detroit, Michigan, is SummerSlam, which is 4 months after WrestleMania. You don't have a PLE in the
States,
in the country that you're like most well known for. As far as I know, it is the most popular here. In comparison to anywhere else, right?
Agree.
And that's all that's really showing for now. It's I thought I saw something where it was like everything was listed out for the remainder of the year, but that's really the most important for the next quarter of 2023, right? Because we're already through the first quarter. We're already at April 10th. This is publishing on. Hold on.
The
14th.
14th, yeah.
Yeah, Friday the 14th. So if you're watching this,
high 14th.
High 14th. Yeah. So we're like, by the time this is published, we're already halfway through April. We're already 1/3 of the way through 2023. It's wild. The weather is already
It's nuts.
getting nicer again. We didn't have a major snowfall here where we live in. Wow. The
southeastern PA.
Sure, the tri-state area of the Mid-Atlantic region, because I know like North Jersey, New York, some other spots in this region got some heavier snow. We just happened to get mist where we live. We got like some little flurries or an inch or two here, but like nothing where we were just like, oh, can't go to work. We gotta work from home kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like
we got like a small
that.
coating, like maybe twice, but we didn't get like a legit snowfall.
Right.
And I think that was the same thing as last year too. So the last 2 years we got away with having like no big snowfalls, which is odd. But usually with that, I've always said that it's going to be a hot summer. So, and knowing that it's already, decently, this is Friday. Technically, we're talking about Friday, but through this whole week, we had it's been pretty hot, like in the 70s, and I think there was a couple 80s. So, being that it's already getting into those temperatures so quickly, summer's looking like it's going to be pretty hot. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. I, for one, summer. I have not been in like the pool much, and when I say the pool, I mean like my parents' pool, much the past couple years. But my dad has vocalized, and I know your dad felt the sentiment where after some time the maintenance was more worth than like the use that it got out of it, right? So my dad had the pool installed after we lost our beach house, and at first like we were in it like quite a bit, we used it a lot, and then in the last couple of years like not a lot of people get in it and use it. And he's like, I'm tired of like keeping up with it and barely anyone uses it,
Right
so definitely think I mean if it's like a lot hotter this summer, I want to take advantage of that and use it a lot more than I have previously, especially while I am like close to them, because I have contemplated like when when I move not that I'm moving like super far or anything, but I think I want to move like not within like the school district that I grew up in, or not necessarily like southeastern Delaware County. I kind of want to explore out a little bit and maybe
for sure.
Like I kind of want to get to somewhere where it's like I want like some land and it's a little bit cheaper to live kind of thing. Just things that have been on my mind, and I know those places exist, so that's something when I'm ready to make that move, something that I'll be considering. So in the meantime, in the immediate future, definitely trying to get that pool situation going. And I know I don't even know when our summer recording episode, I know I timed it out. Give me a second. 70.
I think we did it somewhere around like the end of July last year. So if we're sticking around that time, we'll probably be having another summer episode around then.
I think we did the third weekend in June or the fourth weekend in June a year ago. So it is like the recording, I believe, is going to land us at Friday, July 14th.
Gotcha.
So second week of July kind of thing, or we can do before that. Just talk it out loud. Sorry, everyone. Anyway, let's get back on track. Quick Super early predictions for Money in the Bank, like briefcase winners.
Yeah.
Because it's pretty early to say or pick who all is going into the match. Especially the draft is about to happen, so things are going to move around. People are going to get caught up from NXT.
Right.
It's going to happen, right? So
I would like to see a good amount of NXT people be moved up more than usual, hopefully. But you know, we'll see what happens. And I think probably once we get the draft in, once we see the new arrangement between Monday night and Friday night, who's set in their ways, we might be able to get a better idea of who's going to be in the match, who they're thinking about winning.
yeah,
Because I can't really even see who might be considered to be winning the briefcase right now. And, if they're still trying to make it around the bloodline, they could do something within that's going to be like a, what do you call it? A decoy that might try to be like, okay, this guy might be able to break up the bloodline situation, or just, because most of the time, have we had successful cash-ins the last couple of years? I mean, I know Theory didn't get his cash in. He didn't have a successful cash in last year. Right? Am I correct? I don't think he did.
He cashed
he
it.
tried to cash in against Bobby Lashley, right?
He tried to cash in on the United States Championship between Lashley and Seth Rollins, and he failed. Right.
Right.
But now, and everyone laughed and was like, I can't believe he wasted the briefcase on it. I was like, they had him waste the briefcase on that because they didn't want anyone cashing in the briefcase on Roman Reigns, because it just didn't make sense. If they intended for Reigns to just maintain it, that just wasn't a realistic thing. I couldn't even tell you who. Oh, Pandemic Money in the Bank was at the headquarters, and that's when Otis won the Money in the Bank, right?
Yeah, that was a swerve.
That was a swerve. And then I believe The Miz somehow got the Money in the Bank, cashed in and won.
That's right.
And then that's when Bobby Lashley beat The Miz.
Yeah.
That was before Mania 21. And then I believe he went in against Drew and retained, right? Did I say Mania? Not Mania 21, Mania 2021, which was Mania 37, which was when they had some people in the stands down in Tampa, right? The next Money in the Bank winner was Big E, right? And that's when he cashed in
against Roman.
No, he cashed in against Bobby Lashley.
Because he ended up getting a match with the whole thing. Yeah, so right.
That was when Roman only had the Universal belt, and Big E cashed in on Lashley, who had just the WWE belt, right?
True.
Let's see. Lashley had the belt.
He had it for a good bit of time. He didn't have it the whole year, but he had it a good bit of time, I think.
Lashley had the belt. Big E cashing Money on the Bank on Lashley. They had the day one pay-per-view, which was where they had the Fatal 5-Way where Brock Lesnar got inserted, and then Brock Lesnar pins Big E in the Fatal 5-Way, and then Brock Lesnar had the WWE belt, and that's when they went on to Mania 38, and that's when they had the Mania Roman match where they unified the titles, and that's been it for the last year. That's
there you go.
Okay. Otis was 2020. Otis 2020, Big E 2020. I couldn't even
say, for the Money in the Bank for the women for this year, I would have even said Liv Morgan, but since they just won the tag belts, her and Rodriguez, they just won the tag belts on Monday. We're speaking in Friday terms at this point. They won it this week on Raw, so I think Liv Morgan's out of the question for Money in the Bank possibilities. So again, it just depends on what they're what women they might bring up or switch around.
So Liv Morgan won Money in the Bank last year and cashed in on Ronda Rousey, and that's when she had her short title run.
So then again, then that wouldn't be a decent thing to do like twice in a year. Wouldn't be impossible, but she's already had her moment. So
fun fact: CM Punk won Money in the Bank 2 years in a row. Oof, this was when I was barely watching, and he had long hair. So I want to say it was like 2008, 2009, like Mania 26, 27 years, something like that.
Okay.
And that's a guess. Again, if I'm incorrect about that, I'll go back and check myself before I wreck myself entirely. Pardon me. Yeah, not unheard of for anyone to win the briefcase 2 years in a row. Definitely a thing.
Yeah.
I mean, here's the thing. I will say this right now. Whoever wins Money in the Bank is successfully cashing in against Bianca Belair only because she's held the title since last WrestleMania. So her title reign, whenever they're ready to be like, okay, we're having this person cash in, and it might be that night, or it might be close to SummerSlam or the night of SummerSlam, so that champion can hold it to WrestleMania, because I don't think Rhea Ripley's losing anytime soon, if I'm being honest. I think she's holding that for a long time.
Yeah, I think she's going to have that for a good amount of time. I'd be very surprised if that's a short title reign for her.
If anything, hot take. This isn't like a really thought out prediction, but like hot take would be Charlotte Flair wins Money in the Bank and then just holds it for a long time and just teases the cash in on both belts forever. Like that would be fun, because you get her just jumping from show to show, and Rhea would hold it. And that's like kind of the obvious one, because Charlotte will want to go after Rhea after losing to her. She could also just successfully cash in on Bianca and just be the Raw Women's Champion. And then you'd have Charlotte versus Rhea Ripley, champion versus champion at Survivor Series, like for nothing, right?
Right.
Could do that.
I do like to hope that we get Rhea and Bianca. Rhea and Bianca Belair. I hope we get that at Survivor Series.
I mean, that match has happened, I'm pretty sure, but not
NXT.
I think it happened on Raw like a year or two ago, but not at the level that they're at now. So I understand what you're saying on that front.
Yes. So I hope we get it as a champion versus champion match. I definitely hope we get that before one of them gets split off. And obviously, like you said, I think out of both of them, it's going to be Bianca getting her belt stripped before Rhea's. But I hope we get that match before any of that happens.
Yeah, I'm having a hard time determining who takes the belt off of Bianca, unless if they do Asuka wins Money in the Bank and then cashes in on Bianca and beats her after she lost to her at WrestleMania, I won't like that. Like I would see them doing that if like Bianca defends the belt after Asuka wins Money in the Bank and then Asuka cashes in on her when she's already weak. Yeah, I just don't like that. And I don't even know what they're going to do with Asuka at this point after she lost to Bianca, unless if they turn her heel and she goes like evil Kana Asuka, which I would be completely okay with, because right now she's just, on a Japanese tirade all the time, and everyone's like, "Oh, awesome, we love Asuka," but like there's no other substance behind that. So
yeah,
if they can spin it, oh, geez. And can I just say, as much as I love her song so much, if she went like a whole other like evil Kana thing, I would want them to take how they took Bray Wyatt's original theme and then they turned it into the Fiend's theme where it was just like hardcore. If they did that,
yeah,
no problem at all. I would be so far behind that 100%, literally.
kind of like how they changed up Bailey's music, where it was like the wacky inflatable art flame 2-man song, and now it's all like badass music, and like since she's been that heel persona. So yeah, I would definitely think that would be something for her as well, because she has that traditional, Japan type style music, but then if she's gonna turn that vicious heel, she needs a newer updated song to back that up with.
Yeah, the only other thing that I would really get behind them doing, and I honestly don't like see this being a thing, but if for some reason Bianca came out and presented an open challenge and say Sasha Banks made like a surprise return, I'd be like, just take that away from her immediately, because they had the WrestleMania feud where Sasha dropped the belt to Bianca. That story that story's already present. Sasha went away. She's in Japan. She's living her best life. She's building herself up, basically to say, "Hey, I can go be great over here." Since you shat on me.
Yeah.
So if you want to bring me back and pay me what I asked before, because I'll bring you the money upon my return. I think they would just give her almost not whatever she wants. Like they give Charlotte almost whatever she wants.
Right.
But I think that I think it would elevate her and say, because I really still think like Charlotte is probably the top female in the wrestling industry, right? And then like in the next playing field, I would actually put Rhea directly under her, just from like Rhea and Bianca are close. I think Rhea's got more of the like the persona. The Bianca persona is like, hey, you've been doing the same thing for a long time. I'm kind of bored of it. Her in the ring is undeniable. Her strength in her legs and her upper body is just ridiculous, right? Yeah. The people that she's lifted, do you drop, right?
You drop.
Yes.
Yeah, you can't deny the strength that girl has. It's unbelievable.
No.
But I think when it comes to like mic skills, Rhea has definitely a lot better mic skills than Bianca, for sure.
And I would put Becky on Rhea's playing field in that front. But
yeah,
Becky in the ring is like a smidgen above Bayley. And I'd say Bayley on the mic. Bayley on the mic is basically same tier as, I'd say, Becky and Rhea, honestly, because Bayley on the mic, she held down the fort for the women's division during Thunderdome era, like during the pandemic. Like she was just, she was probably the best part in WWE that helped, like that made the most of it, honestly.
Yeah,
and Sasha was just along for the ride. So,
right.
But I think Sasha as an overall attraction with like an equilibrium in mic skill and in ring ability, as well as just having the look. It's really hard to rank them, and which is a great thing. It's not just like here's one person and then here's the rest of them all down here, right?
Right.
So to categorize them, it's kind of tough. I mean, the Charlotte thing is a hot take. I just don't think they're ever going to give Natalya a chance at this point. I'm like, if they were going to, they already would have. I think they gave her a title match with Ronda at one point. But her delivery as a character is just not there. She's fun in the ring, like to watch, and that's fine. But like, she gets on the mic, I don't believe her. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Like I've always said, with like Mike friend wise, you got to have that believable aspect to what you're saying. You can just a lot of people can just go up there and just talk, but it's a matter of if you're believing what this person is saying and can you get behind that person. So, Bianca's good. You definitely are behind her, but I think she still has work to do in that aspect. Not saying she's bad at all, because like I said, if she didn't, her talent is so far past her mic skills. But Rhea is almost a total package. She has great personality, ring skill, talented in the ring and strength, power, all that. And what she's doing with the Judgment Day is probably her best work yet, I think. And like I said, they were pushing and pushing and pushing her so much over the last couple of months, and we still have yet to know what she's going to do at this point. So, yes, I think the draft is going to do some, no pun intended, shaking up of the Monday and Friday night shows, and I think it's going to really show us what these next couple months are going to be like. So
yeah, I mean, it definitely, like you said, it's the shake up. It's definitely going to change our gears into thinking a little bit differently. It's also like, remember when they did the Raw exclusive pay-per-views, or back then they were pay-per-views, and then the SmackDown exclusive pay-per-views. There were a lot of pay-per-views. They tried that for a year, and everyone was just like, this is a lot. This is getting to be too much. And then they were like, all right, each pay-per-view, we need to highlight the best from each show, because otherwise you're having the best from each show, but then you're having these filler things that feel like they should just be on free TV, on Raw or SmackDown, and just leave them be.
yeah.
And it really watered down the quality of each of the pay-per-views at the time. So, I think, okay, Theory had the failed cash-in. Big E had the successful cash-in. Otis went to the Miz, wound up being successful, and then Bobby Lashley beat him after the fact, right?
So yeah, so it's kind of been back and forth the last couple of years. If we're going back at least the last 3-4 years.
I'm just trying to think, if someone beats Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 40, it's going to be a face, which means it's almost like, all right, you need a heel to cash in, which isn't necessarily true, because you had Money in the Bank 2016, Roman Reigns defends against Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins wins, and then Dean Ambrose, who had won Money in the Bank earlier, cashed in on Seth Rollins and beat Seth Rollins, so that you had all three members of the Shield become the champion in the same night, right? Or be the champion within the same night, right? That was what they were trying to do there, right? So that was three faces, really. Having the belts there. So I'd really like to see Kevin Owens with the belt. That to me would just be like, Sami Zayn wins the Royal Rumble, goes on and actually beats Roman Reigns at WrestleMania, and then Kevin Owens cashes in on Sami Zayn at the end of WrestleMania to go out with like the big FU to everyone.
Right. Yeah, that would be a big fantasy book.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, people are trying to say that with the draft, they're going to draft Roman as one champion to one show and Roman as the other champion to the other show. So then he has to defend the belts separately because of the draft.
Gotcha.
Don't hate it. And again, you could have your money
he's already
in the bank
on both shows no matter what. So yeah.
this is how you can have your Money in the Bank winner go and challenge Roman for the WWE belt, and then Roman continues his Universal title reign to continue that longevity, which is going to be 1,000+ days at that point, right? So as much as I had predicted originally about them saying, oh, Cody won the Rumble, so he only gets a challenge for the one belt. If they pull this with the draft and they separate it, Cody Rhodes might be beating Roman Reigns for the WWE belt via the cash-in. So if that's the case, right, you need to get this thing with Brock Lesnar done and over with kind of fast, and then get Cody into if Cody goes into Money in the Bank and they separate Roman by title, that's my early prediction is Cody gets Money in the Bank and cashes in on Roman at SummerSlam and gets the WWE belt there. But his Universal reign continues, and then Roman being toppled entirely. I think could go to. I said before it might be Jey Uso. If it's like if
I'm
they
still
don't
down with the Jey Uso thing going and breaking up everything.
I
still like that.
If that's
ending to it.
if that's the Bloodline story. If that's the Bloodline story, and you have Jey Uso take out Roman, and then you still have Roman come out after that and say, "I never needed Jey, I never needed Jimmy, I never needed Solo.
Yeah,
I am the Bloodline. I am everything that this family is. The others don't matter." And then you get The Rock. Like I'd be down with that. Because
then
that match,
there's no belt involved. Just the fact that those two get the fight, nothing really like on the line. Because like we've said many times, that match doesn't need a belt to market itself.
It is that is the modern day Rock versus Hogan match. Literally. I mean, if you look at how huge Hulk Hogan was back in the late 80s, all through the 90s, and what he took wrestling to, and The Rock's impact on wrestling, and him going into Hollywood and how huge that he is, figurative and metaphorically speaking, right? I mean, The Rock and Hogan was literally just like icon versus icon, just like they did Hulk Hogan versus Shawn Michaels, icon versus icon, same kind of thing, right? Same kind of thing. Yeah, I definitely. The thing is like as great of shape as The Rock is in. There's a timeline where he's going to say, "Yeah, I'm not doing the wrestling thing, man. I'm like."
Yeah.
But to be fair, like, The Undertaker did it, but he only, he'd only train for 3, 4, 5 months to prepare for one match once a year. The Rock is just training all the time. He's in just insane shape, but I think he's 49 now. I don't think he's quite 50 yet.
No,
but
he's up there though.
I mean, hey, is he in better shape than Goldberg is in the last couple years? And Goldberg's in his early 50s, and he's still okay in the ring. I would expect Dwayne to be even better, really.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. I mean, like you said, he trains every day. It's definitely had nothing to do with him being out of ring shape, because with him working out every day and being in top shape for movies, it would have only taken maybe a couple weeks to a couple months, 1 or 2, to kind of get back into that rhythm of being in ring shape. He wouldn't need to be training 6-8 months out to do that.
Yeah, I would give him. I give him 6 to 8 weeks before a match, and he would be ready to get in the ring, even at his age.
Yeah,
literally.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Wow. I know that there's rumor that Paul Heyman is going to be driving dissension with Jay. So they're gonna continue. Jay, are you really with the Bloodline or not? Like that's the thing, and Solo is like the guy. So
yeah,
I think I actually feel like we get Solo. Solo is like Roman's right hand guy, literally with the Umaga thumb.
mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I think that we get, if Jimmy, breaks away from the Bloodline, it's because Solo loses his mind and
yeah,
spikes Jay to try to teach him a lesson, kind of thing.
right,
right. And then we get Jay turning on him, and then we get Jimmy in the middle, like, I don't know what to do. And then we get Jay versus Solo, and then we have Jimmy picking sides and then sticks to Solo's side to stick to the Bloodline. And then we get Jay versus Jimmy, brother versus brother.
Yeah.
And then it eventually leads us to Jay wins the Rumble and then goes on to face Roman. Or Jay wins a Rumble and then has to face Jimmy in between. And it's like, oh,
yeah,
brother versus brother drama. That would be the way, because they've been calling Jay main event Jay on commentary. So they're teasing that. Like, as far as I'm concerned, like that is a way to pay off the entire thing, especially because
I agree 100%.
I don't think Jay, I think they said Braun Strowman was the first title defense after Roman won, but that was on SmackDown. Like right after he won, and I think there was a screwy finish or something. But Roman versus Jay was the first like pay-per-view match with Roman, and that's I think that was Hell in a Cell, and it might have been they didn't. I don't. Did they do Clash of Champions then? I can't remember.
I'm not sure. I don't remember the match.
That was 2020,
like
because
the stipulation. Yeah,
that was Thunderdome era, which was SummerSlam. Bray versus Braun, and Roman came out of nowhere and just speared the both of them outside the ring or something like that. And then they did the triple threat at, I think Payback was the next Sunday, and Roman won, and he's been Universal Champion ever since then, right?
Yeah.
So the Jay stuff, I forget how that all like tied in.
Yeah, I'd have to go back and watch, but yeah.
I think they did Clash of the Champions in September, a couple weeks later, or a few weeks later, and then they did Hell in a Cell after that. And that's when Jimmy came in, and Jimmy was like injured at the time.
I was going to say Jimmy was out for a little bit, so Jay was kind of starting to get
riding solo,
riding behind Roman, and then Jimmy came back, and that's when they both started, the Bloodline with Roman. Then months later, Solo comes in, and everything was kind of sparkling with that. But I like how the whole Solo and Jay thing's happening. That's going to come into fruition. Then Jimmy's going to have some type of thing. I like how it's a possibility that Jay can be the number one contender for winning the Rumble. And, I would think at that point he probably would have already gotten through Solo and Jay, or at least had some type of confrontation with them at this time, because he's already going to be looking at Roman saying like, hey, I choose you. So this is going to be the biggest take out of it.
So if they split up the belts, right, and Roman drops the WWE belt and Jay wins the Rumble, then the option can be Jay can challenge the WWE champion and not Roman because that's the bloodline and his family, and why would he ever do that? Which they did that story where Randy Orton won the Rumble and Bray Wyatt had the title, and that was when Randy was in like the Wyatt family, and Randy was like, I will never challenge you, and like bowed down to Bray, and then suddenly out of nowhere yeah we had him facing off against Bray at Mania, and he beats Bray Wyatt for the belt.
Yes.
So I can definitely see them going that route as long as you know, however they do hey, let's say Roman is defending the belt in a no DQ match against someone whenever, and Cody Rhodes just does the Seth Rollins and they cash in and they say, this is now a triple threat match. And you don't have to have Roman lose that belt like by being pinned. Right? So it's still Roman getting pinned at WrestleMania is the first time he gets pinned, say, next April 2024 since December of 2019, right?
Yeah.
They can run with that if they do that triple threat insert kind of thing. You heard it here, folks. I don't know. That's kind of my take on it. Long-term booking.
Absolutely.
Now, I mean, Cody winning the Money in the Bank. I think Cody winning Money in the Bank and him cashing in for the WWE belt, I think he would want to pin Roman. So if they go that route where they do the triple threat insert, I don't think it has to be Cody. And that way, you can get Cody winning the WWE Championship at WrestleMania, which is where you get the audience next year. So you can take this whole entire year to build Cody up because he was injured for 9 months, right? I would rather see that. I'd rather see him get that moment to finish his story at WrestleMania rather than at like on a cash-in. And I don't think he would want that either. Like, I don't think he came back to be like, oh, give me a briefcase so that I can have like a easy win. Like, no, he wants to get that win, which to me, you know, means he won the Rumble last year, which to me would mean he wins the Chamber next year and then goes on to challenge the WWE champion, which means Jey Uso wins the Rumble, and then it's, who am I going to challenge? Who am I going to challenge? And maybe by next year's Elimination Chamber, it's whoever wins the Chamber gets to challenge one of the champions, and, you know, the winner of the Rumble gets to challenge one of the champions. And because they like to do this thing where it's like, we don't know too far in advance now. Like, they like to build the suspense to get closer. So I could see them doing that where if Jay wins the Rumble and they keep saying, you know, of course I'm not going to cash on you, and everyone in their mind is like, any smart fan is going to be like, you're going after Roman and we know it. But they might tease it with whoever the WWE champion is. Jay is just attacking him week after week to make it be like, okay, they're building towards that. And then you have Cody win. You have Cody win the Chamber. And then let's say you have Cody come out on Raw the next night and say, I'm challenging this person for the WWE Championship. And then it corners Jay into having to face Roman for the Universal Champion.
Yeah.
You heard it here, folks. Just saying.
You heard it here, folks. Just saying.
Just saying. I mean, we're like a year out from Mania, but that is like
all in all that. I'm looking forward to SummerSlam. Looking forward to WrestleMania being in Philly next year.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a show. WrestleMania 40 in Philly. If this all comes to, you know, the fact that, you know, we're going to have Jay facing Roman and all, or Cody getting back into the situation, you know, this is going to be a weekend of fun. And I don't know if we want to, because obviously we have nothing put in stone yet, but off air had thought about certain things to do around that time. So yeah, I won't even break into anything because you know, I don't want to give false announcements to people or false ideas of anything. But as a whole, me and Jim have some ideas that we've gone back and forth about for that weekend. But keep sticking with us, and if those things come into fruition, we'll let you know. And we're looking forward to it though, because we haven't had a Philly WrestleMania since what, WrestleMania 16?
15. So it's been 25 years. Yep.
So yeah, so it's been a little while. I mean, they've gone to Northern Jersey the last 2 times, so they haven't gone to Philly in a long time. So Philly is going to be hot, hot, hot that weekend. And knowing that they have a longer, like thing of events like the Hall of Fame Friday, SmackDown, night 1 and 2 of WrestleMania, Raw Monday. So it's going to be a fun packed weekend.
I'll tell you, wow. After the Monday Night Raw that I watched after Mania 39, as much as I was like, wow, that would be pretty awesome. I'm not sure that I would pay for that, honestly.
Right. I was thinking, yeah, I'd rather just watch that at home and just be like, well, hey, at least I don't have to drive home in that crap,
Yeah, I will say for all of the heat that they got after this one, they better get it together and plan something bigger for next year. And hey, if Roman ruses, wow. If Roman loses at the Sunday night Mania in Philly next year, I can't imagine him not coming out on Raw and making the statement. Yeah, I mean, we predicted that if he lost to Cody and Roman, The Rock came out. I just, as much as we want that year-long build to that, I don't think that Dwayne can commit that far in advance. It's just not realistic,
Now, at this point, I mean, obviously it's been seen he just can't commit that far out right now because obviously his career is obviously a lot more important than WWE, which I'm not mad about. He doesn't have anything to prove in the WWE anymore. He's done anything and everything. So for him to say like, hey, let's keep this all up in the air. I like where it's going, but if the price is right, if the time is right, my schedule's open, let's do it. And hopefully next year that'll be the situation. But till then, we don't know, everybody.
Not sure. And again, I was just doing like short-term predictions with Money in the Bank. Clearly, they are going with the Trish versus Becky, which was rumored to be like a SummerSlam match, which like makes sense. I can imagine if they try to do that in Saudi Arabia, because that would be a huge payout for the both of them, because the talent that does the Saudi Arabia trips get like a big payday, obviously. But at the same time, if that's supposed to be king and queen of the ring, I think that's more the king and queen of the ring have always been about kind of like Money in the Bank and the Royal Rumble winner, about making that next person. Stone Cold Steve Austin, 1997. They were like, he's our next guy. He had his promo after that everyone goes back to. Austin 316 says, "I just whipped your ass," like that.
Yep,
is like I mean, that is a moment that cemented his career beyond that, right?
Yeah.
So I am hoping to see some other talent kind of come out from under the like the woodwork, and like people that we don't expect, and then out of nowhere, like Becky Lynch getting her face busted open by Nia Jax, and then all of a sudden she's the man, and she is like the hottest thing in WWE. Like something to that caliber is what King and Queen of the Ring need to be about. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I hope that they position that correctly to the point where it's like, okay, whoever we want to win this, we need to invest in them and shoot them to the moon and make them important
Right.
and market them and make money off of them. And if we can't, drop them like a bad habit and let them drop our contract, go to AEW, and good friggin' luck, right? So,
right. Hopefully it's not just because from what I would think they would be thinking about doing, like, oh, let's just take these next couple weeks leading into the King of the Ring, King of the Wing, King and Queen of the Ring.
There you go.
Of like, the weeks before, just doing tournaments. Like every week they'll do like, okay, well, this is the semifinals, this is the first round, the second round, the semifinals, quarterfinals of all that, and then at the actual PLE they do like the final 2 or 3 matches, and then the main event is the 2 matches for the King of the Ring and Queen of the Ring.
So
it's good to have suspense leading into it, but I don't think they'll do the whole thing for that whole PLE event.
If they tournament style it, then you only have to fly so many people over. Like if you have like 8 men and 8 women, and you have three men's matches, your quarterfinal matches, your semifinal matches, quarterfinal, semifinal, and final matches for the men's, there's 3 matches, and then you do the same thing for the women's. There are 6 matches right there. You literally only have to fly over 8 talent of men and 8 talent of women. It's just 4 of the 8 have to compete in 2 matches. Well, I should say 2 of the 8 have to compete in 2 matches, and 2 of the 8 have to compete in 3 because they'll advance all the way.
Because usually it's not the full roster either way. So,
well, certain people don't and won't go there, right? So,
right.
There's that, early prediction is Austin. Why am I saying Austin Creed? Xavier Woods, King of the Ring, because he's been saying he's wanted to be King of the Ring like for years. So early prediction.
Didn't he win King of the Ring one year?
No. He was in the final and then he lost.
Okay.
Pretty sure.
Then I can see him being in there then again.
I'll have to look, especially he's the only one that's not injured. Kofi's out and Big E obviously has been out. Let me triple check that. I am almost, and this is something that I am going to just take up our time and make sure he hasn't won it. In October 2021, Woods became the 22nd winner of the King of the Ring tournament and briefly went by the name of King Woods. Damn it. Okay. I thought he didn't win it.
I remember I'm like, yeah, because he did like the whole like, oh, I'm the King of the Ring, blah, 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 King Woods. So it was a very short-lived thing. But that, like I said, we did the King of the Ring, but it's like it would be like a whole month worth of publicity and then be like, all right, shut up.
Yeah, they would they would crush it, and then that person would be out on injury, quote unquote, and then they would come back as not the king, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Here, let's do this. Early prediction would be Natalya wins Queen of the Ring because she's like the Queen of Hearts because she's like from the Hart family, right?
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Just again, throw her a bone because she's never won the belt before.
Right.
But again, that's a talent that is has been around for some time. So if they're trying to build up someone else like a newer talent, then obviously definitely not her. I'm just checking. I don't know. Oh, look, full match. Dewdrop versus Natalia, Queen of the Ring tournament from 2021. Yeah, she hasn't won it. It doesn't look like, but
No, she hasn't really held, like, other than like tag team belts, she really hasn't held any type of gold in a long time.
Well, and
So
this is where she doesn't have like the mic and personality skill to sell herself.
No.
You know, I think she's just like, hey, I just want to be a good wrestler and leave me at that. You know what I mean? So
right.
Yeah, I don't know.
So
I think I would prefer newer talent for sure to be positioned for those. Other than that, we did talk a bunch of wrestling because it has been some time since we have. And is there anything else that we wanted to touch base on before we sign off? Or
I think we hit a lot of good points.
Yeah.
You know, for those who were on the Patreon, they got to hear a full spiel on you know, March Madness and WrestleMania. We did a little bit of recap after all that, so you guys on the Patreon can still see everything we talked on privately in the Patreon community. But yeah, it was cool to kind of just talk about the current state and what the draft's going to be looking like and everything, and what the next couple months might be looking at. So if anybody has any comments on what they think, make sure to leave it in the comments. Email us, onesetpod@gmail.com. Follow us, subscribe to us, let us know, you know, what you're thinking of the podcast. And, you know, we're excited to be doing this weekly. And if you guys are here for the first time, my name is Anthony Irvin. Once again, this is my brother, Jim Green. We hope you guys had fun listening. This has been another set of the One Set Podcast. Brother, do you have anything else before?
Last minute thought. Could see Gunther winning Money in the Bank and taking the WWE belt off of Roman, and then running
Gunther is definitely going to do something.
And then you could have Cody beat Gunther at WrestleMania after winning the Chamber next year, and I would not be mad about that. Because eventually we're gonna get we'll likely get Gunther versus Brock Lesnar, and again, doesn't need a title involved. The match sells itself as just two behemoths, you know, slapping meats, right? So
yeah, thigh meats, slapping thigh meats.
Yeah, sure. Just a last minute little PS before we sign off there. Other than that, Anth, thank you so much for your time. All the love to you and our One Set fam.
All the love, people.
All the love. Until next time. Thank you so much. Cheers.
Cheers, buddy. Love you guys.